Hello, everybody. Today, I want to talk about how I think change leads to division. And it's actually because I'm watching this documentary from Frontline PBS. I highly recommend it. And it's basically about Obama and Donald Trump and how the United States is basically divided. So I'm like 30 minutes into the two-part documentary. And this idea keeps, I still have yet to finish it, but this idea keeps popping up where, like, if everybody remembers Obama during his um, during his campaign run, he would talk about change, right? Like that, like if I ask you, like, what United States president do you associate with change? It's Obama, right? And I guess they say that Obama came in, first of all, as the first black president or the first African American president in the United States, right? Of the United States. And second of all, he was young and he was democratic and he had like these radical ideas, well, not really radical ideas, but he represented change, right? Like what he was saying, he was going to do, he represented that, right? So it got me thinking because, as we all know, that, a lot of people blame Trump, but Trump didn't just come out of nowhere. And I think that's what they're going to get to eventually in the documentary. They will get to explaining how Trump wasn't actually the one that just came out and got people riled up. Like, these people were riled up since Sarah Palin, since John McCain, since these people that were making like satirical comments on Obama. I forget their names, but they're in the documentary. Like, these people back in probably late 2000s, early 2010s that were voicing their criticism towards Obama and actually got people riled up, right? And all of this just makes me think about how, yeah, that is true. I mean, there's like this situation where in life you're basically under the status quo most of the time, right? In your workplace, in your school, in your social areas in your life, right? You're typically, you know how things are, the traffic, your workplace, the people that you interact with. There's a status quo, right? And a lot of people are okay with that. For example, I'm one of them. I'm a person that's okay with the way things are, right? Now, could they be better? Maybe. I don't know. Because when we talk about change, there's collateral damage. There's unintended and unforeseen effects and consequences and results, right? That could potentially create more problems, right? Now, call me a conservative or whatever, but that's just kind of my idea. Like, are you sure you really want to effectuate this change or bring about this change? Like, things are kind of good the way they are in a way, right? But could they be better? Sure. Now, there are people that radically and passionately think things can be better, right? Things not only can be better, but should be better and must be better, right? So they basically think that change should come about. And these type of people sometimes are in power, sometimes are in charge of making decisions that are going to impact everybody. Now, the way I think about it is, if change is brought about, you're going to get resistance. You're going to get people that are not going to want to change things, right? So even if you act in good faith and you say, yes, we need change, we need to revolutionize things, we need to innovate, we need to, you know, change is going to create division because and that is true, you're going to, divide the group up into the people that agree with the change and the people that disagree with the change, right? As for the Obama Trump example, you basically have the people that are for change, like kind of with Obama, and the minorities and all this talk of people that were basically on Obama's side. And because there were white people too with Obama, there are white people with Obama, well, back then. And then there are people that are against the change, right? Which are kind of like the people with Trump nowadays. But okay, going back to the three levels of change, I think there's first of all, there's a physical change, right? I'm going to go from the least resistance to the most resistance, right? So the change that has the least resistance is the physical ornamental changes. Like, let's say, and we see a lot of this, like in companies and schools and in a lot of places, people will say, well, we need to innovate, we need to take out the old furniture and bring in new furniture, or we need to put the tables over here, or we need to make another office space over here, or we need to, so they start like building things, breaking things down, building new things. And I would say a lot of people don't like that, but they kind of don't offer any resistance, right? They kind of just go along with it, and they say, okay, I don't like it, but it's going to happen, whatever. I'll adapt to the physical differences, right? Of course, there are exceptions. Maybe some people that will say that's definitely not going to happen, and they may just end up leaving or quitting. I mean, but I wouldn't say that they will have enough people to actually bring about a true powerful resistance, right? Like, I think that has the least resistance. After that, there is, which I would say the more or less resistance, the I would say 50% stronger resistance would probably be in the processes. We're going to change the way things are, right? The way we do things, we're going to change the way we do things. So you remember how you used to do things like this? Now you're going to do them like this, right? And that's going to create more resistance, right? Because people are going to say, well, we've been doing things like this for years. Why are we all of a sudden going to change just because we have a boss with big ideas, right? And that is going to create hostility, maybe a toxic work environment, this going back and forth between people, right? Like, I do something to you, you do something back, and just kind of like this war or these battles going on, like in the office, at schools, right? If you change the things physically, if you change things physically, that creates less resistance than actually changing the processes or the way things are done, right? After that, we get the one which I think is kind of interesting with the most resistance, and this is when we change ideologies, value and belief systems, and basically what things represent, which is Obama, right, in this case. So when you go as far as to, like Jordan Peterson said, poke them in the axioms, when you actually interfere with people's core beliefs, that's when you're going to get a strong reaction from people. Now, that can be debatable. You can say it's actually the processes, and I wouldn't disagree with you. I just thought of this like a little bit ago, but tell me what you think. Do you think ideologies will get more resistance than processes, or maybe processes will get more resistance than ideology? Because it could be that people will say, yeah, I don't really care that you're changing the value system or the belief systems. But it could also be that by changing the belief systems, you're making me do things differently, and that is going to create resistance on my part, right? So yeah, this all goes back to, there are people that like the way things are, right? And they're going to basically manifest resistance towards the people that always want change. Plus, the people that always want change, right? Like, they're never satisfied. They're just people that are always criticizing and looking for how to improve things, but they're really just disrupting and making things chaotic. Well, that's my take, right? There are people that will say, well, it benefits, to innovate and to create, but that's where you need that balance, right, between left and right wings ideologies. So yeah, it says when you undertake a new activity. Oh yeah, and then to finish off, I want to talk about from a personal perspective, from a personal and private perspective. This also happens with you when you undertake a new activity, right? There's resistance, there's judgment. So let's say you're going about your day, you're living your day-to-day life, habitual life, everyday life. And all of a sudden you say, oh man, I'm gaining weight, I need to exercise, so I need to make a change, right? And you start doing this change. You need to organize yourself. You need to figure out when you're going to work out, how are you going to work out, right? And you effectuate the change, but then there's like two of you, right? There's the part of you that wants to change, that wants to be healthier, that wants to be fit, but there's a part of you that's like man, do we really have to? I like the way things were before. I like just coming home and relaxing after a hard day's work, right? So even within yourself, there's that resistance. And this goes for any new activity that you undertake. If you say, I'm gonna start doing things like this, any change that you bring about in your life, it's going to create a resistance, and in a certain way it's going to create a division in yourself, right, in your psychology. So and like I said, through judgment, right, through criticism, because resistance does its thing through judging and through criticizing the other side, right? So that's why change brings about division. So let me know what you think. Is that true or not? I'd love to hear from you. And I guess that's all I got for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.